Destiny 2 is infamous for being grindy, complex, and confusing, and Bungie's never gotten the new player experience quite right. They throw you into outer space, barely telling you where to go, and the UI isn't exactly the most intuitive thing out there. And things are hardly better for returning players. The longer you're away from Destiny, the harder it feels to come back. In this video, I want to lay out a simple and easy path for you to take. This video is going to take the waterfall of information that the game overwhelms you with and turn it into something that anyone can manage. It doesn't matter if you've never played Destiny before or if your last play session was months or years ago, this video will have you covered. The first thing that every new player needs to do is choose their starting class. The class you choose is really important. Picking a class that you don't vibe with will make it a lot harder to get deeper into Destiny. It's like being right-handed and trying to write with your left hand. You can probably do it, but it's not going to be a great time. Playing a class that already matches up with the playstyle that you love gives you something to latch onto. It's like a free hit of dopamine that helps you instantly begin to enjoy Destiny. Hunter is the most popular class in Destiny by far. Boo! Maybe it's because everyone loves playing that rogue sneaky class in video games, or maybe it's because they just love the fashion game. I mean, those cloaks are pretty sweet. Whatever the reason, Hunters are a great fit for new Destiny players because the jump mechanics are pretty similar to most other games. While Hunters can be sneaky and even go invisible, that's not the only trick up their sleeves. On the surface, Hunters are the most mobile class that has access to dodges and quick movement. Other classes also have some great movement techniques as well, but those take a little bit more practice to pull off and aren't quite as accessible as the Hunter's base movement abilities. Their supers can spin up an electric staff that slices up enemies, fires off a volley of void energy arrows, or shoot magic one-hit kill bullets like a space cowboy. In PvE, they may not be quite as versatile as the Warlock, but they do have some really powerful builds, especially thanks to some buffs that came with the Witch Queen expansion. They're really strong in PvP and definitely draw the most balanced complaints from the player base thanks to a special pair of boots. Hunters just feel so natural to play. Anyone can pick up a Hunter for the first time and feel like they've been playing as a Hunter for many years. It's been my personal favorite class since the beginning of Destiny. If you're someone that loves playing with magic or role-playing as a wizard, then you're going to love starting off as a Warlock. Warlocks are space wizards that hurl flaming swords, nuke groups of enemies with void bombs of destruction, and wield the force of lightning against their enemies. In Destiny, there really isn't the holy trinity of class roles like other traditional MMOs. The Warlock isn't strictly a DPS class like wizards often are in other MMOs. In Destiny, Warlocks can deal some great DPS, but they can also be the best support class with their Dawnblade kit. For players who never plan to join a fire team, Warlocks are particularly strong at clearing solo content. This is thanks to their great enemy clearing and management toolkits, and this is especially true in endgame content where their ability to be extremely tanky and constantly self-heal is really powerful. Warlocks also have some really fun and borderline broken PvP builds to explore. How you choose to play the Warlock or any class in Destiny is really up to you. The third and final class is the Titan. Titans are frontline brawlers that dominate close quarter combat with their abilities. Their supers and toolkits mostly revolve around devastating melees. On Titan, you can shoot through the air literally like a missile and do massive damage in an instant. Titans also wield flaming hammers that can hurl at their foes. I'm still waiting for some exotic armor piece that lets you recall your thrown hammer like Thor. My favorite way of playing the Titan lately is tossing a personal shield into a group of enemies and watching them all explode with the new Void subclass buffs. Whichever class sounds the best and is really calling you is the one that you should start with. They all have really great options for endgame PvE and PvP for whatever content interests you. The most important thing is just to pick something that you really want to explore because each class does have quite a bit of depth. But that brings up an important question. Once you pick your starting class, what kind of content are you supposed to actually start with? Destiny is a game with a lot of things to do. And more importantly, how do you even start finding the content that you want to play? One of my friends was a top healer in a big MMO game and couldn't even figure out how to fly her ship around to do activities in Destiny, so don't feel bad if you're a little bit confused right now. Let's quickly cover the menu system so you understand how to navigate around the Destiny universe. There's effectively two main menu systems. One of them controls mostly the things to do in the game, and the other one controls your character's inventory and progression. The Destinations tab is where you actually play the game. This menu is divided up into a few different layers. The most zoomed out view has all the planets in Destiny where you can explore by clicking on any of the landing zones. You can click on each icon to reveal different things to do on those destinations. It also has the Vanguard activities where you can run strikes, which are kind of like mini missions, often in a matchmade team. Gambit is a mode where you can play against other players and AI combatants at the same time to race to defeat a giant boss. The Crucible is where the player versus player action happens in Destiny. This is where I personally spend most of my time. And there's also a few social destinations where you can interact with vendors and dance around with other players. Most importantly, the tower is where you're going to spend most of your time when you're not fighting enemies. On the right side of the menu, the roster tab lets you manage your fire teams, friends, and clans. By the way, if you see people with this symbol next to their name, that means that they're already in a fire team. The Season Pass is where you can collect the things that you earn through generating XP and also keep track of seasonal challenges, which can unlock some important materials for the season. Towards the left side of the menu, the Quest tab allows you to keep track of quest steps and bounties. By the way, you can track up to 3 quests or bounties at the same time, which shows up in-game when you pull out your ghost and toggle to show the menu. The Store tab allows you to see what cosmetics Bungie has for sale. This is where you'll give them all of your money someday, or at least spend your bright dust that you earn while you're playing. The other menu system controls all of your character's progression. The Character tab shows all of your inventory stored on your character, different options to change your subclass and settings, and access to the seasonal artifact, which unlocks powerful mods that you can apply each season. At the top, you'll see the current tally of useful materials in the game, and if you scroll down, you can access more cosmetic options like your emblem, ship, sparrow, and the transmog system, which changes how you look. There's also finishers and emotes, which add some style to your gameplay. To the right, your inventory tab shows most of the things you collect while playing the game, including consumable items and engrams, which you can decrypt at the tower or the Helm social spaces. On the left side, you can find triumphs where you can track all the things that you've completed in the game. This isn't too important for now, but over time you're going to spend a lot of time trying to complete many of the titles in the bottom section and collecting weapon patterns for crafting on the right side. The collections tab is where you can reprint any exotic item that you've dismantled while you're playing, and the clan tab gives you some interesting information about how your clan is progressing through the season once you join one. As a new player, you have a ton of options on your plate. The very first thing you should do is to spend some time going through the introductory New Light quests on the Cosmodrome. This will get your feet wet with the game and help you understand questing and how the inventory system works. Try out some of the core playlists like Strikes and the Crucible, but don't get too discouraged in PvP if you have a rough first few games. If you're starting to feel invested, I would personally recommend that you start playing through the Witch Queen campaign. It's some of the best storytelling that Bungie has ever done since the start of Destiny. It does a really good job of telling you a story and ending it with some really good payoffs. That payoff also leaves you with a cliffhanger that hooks you and is going to leave you wanting to know what happens next. You have the chance to tackle this campaign on the normal or the legendary difficulties, but as a new player, you might want to save the harder difficulty for a challenge down the road, unless you're feeling particularly brave. If you do decide to tackle that harder difficulty level, you'll be rewarded with some gear that can speed up your power leveling process down the road. After you finish the campaign, you'll open up a ton of quests that lead you to some really cool exotic weapons, and the world is really up to you to explore. At this point, you'll probably be deciding if you want to buy and play the past expansions. It's kinda tough to recommend the Shadowkeep expansion at this point because it released back in October of 2019 and not much of the content is still relevant. I'd say you should probably only get it if you can get a deep discount or it's bundled with some other thing that you really want.
Hey, that's pretty good.
You're mostly going to be playing Shadowkeep just for the gear, and it's only available if you own that expansion. The expansion that released just before the Witch Queen was Beyond Light. Most of the content is still relevant and it's not too hard to find people to play those activities with. Compared to Shadowkeep, there's really a lot more to do and the story is better. Once you finish the campaigns that you want to play, you'll start working your way towards earning some top tier loot for endgame content, but first you need to level. Leveling in Destiny is really simple once you understand how the system works, but it seems really complex at first and many players get stuck here. Your power level is the number in the top right of your screen when you're looking at the character's inventory. The number shown is your gear score plus any bonus levels given by your seasonal artifact. These bonus artifact levels come from earning XP, which you earn by playing the game and turning in bounties. The extra power coming from XP resets each season and is totally independent of whatever gear that you're wearing. Your gear score is just the average of your equipped items. If all of your weapons and armor are at 1350 power, then your gear score is at 1350. In the Witch Queen, you start at 1350 power level. Anything you do in the game is going to drop you gear that has a higher number. Until you reach what's called the soft cap, you're constantly going to be showered with loot that has a higher level. That number is 1500 for the Witch Queen, but it's going to change for future expansions, so keep in mind that these numbers I'm about to share may increase depending on when you're watching the video. Once you hit 1500, completing anything that says it rewards powerful drops will earn you gear that pushes you above that soft cap. At this point in leveling, your focus should really be on earning rewards that say that the activity gives powerful rewards until you reach that next plateau, which is called the powerful cap. During the season of the Risen, that powerful cap is 1550, and typically that number is going to increase by 10 each season aside from a major expansion drop. From this point on, the only way that you can increase the gear score part of your overall power level is from earning pinnacle rewards. Pinnacle rewards are limited each week, so unless you have godlike RNG, it's impossible to reach the level cap in just 1 week. But there's a really simple path to follow that cuts down your leveling time dramatically, and pretty much every intermediate or advanced player is going to do this, so let me show you that path. Every new season and every new expansion, the power cap in Destiny increases. Expansions often skyrocket that cap up 200 levels, but season only add 10 power levels. 10 power levels really isn't all that much, but Destiny's leveling is one of the more unenjoyable things about the game, so many players, including myself, try to fly through this process as quickly as possible to enjoy the more fun parts of the game. It doesn't matter if you pick up Destiny in a new expansion or a new season, what you're going to do for leveling is going to be the same. This section will teach you how to effectively power level to get to the endgame content faster, but Destiny isn't a race, and if you want to take your time leveling by exploring at your own pace, that's totally fine. Just skip to the next section of the guide. However, if you want to get that power level up as fast as possible, I got you covered here. Many guides that I've seen leave out a lot of details about the leveling process, and without fail, every season I get people coming over to my Twitch streams asking how I leveled so fast. So I'm going to lay out the entire process for you here as simply as possible. I'd recommend that you save or bookmark this video and come back to this section every season until you have it mastered. The best path for leveling as quickly as you can involves having 3 characters, but you can apply the same logic to only having 1 character and still go quite fast if you're efficient. I'll first explain the macro level of how to handle multiple classes, and then we'll dive into the specifics of how to power level each one most efficiently. And by the way, if you're wondering, it doesn't help to create multiples of the same class. You need to have one of each class to level the fastest. To most efficiently level, you should start by playing your characters in a specific order each week. It doesn't really matter which one you start with, but once you start, you should keep that same order until you're at the pinnacle cap ideally. Let's call your 3 characters A, B, and C. In week 1, you want to play character A in the way that I'll explain in a second to get every source of powerful and pinnacle gear possible. Then once you're 100% done with that character, you're going to move on to character B. Repeat this process to get all of your tasks done and then move to character C and get all the drops again. If you've managed to get all the possible rewards for the week on all 3 characters, then you're effectively stuck until the weekly reset, which happens on Tuesdays. So on week 2, then you want to play them in reverse order. Play character C, then B, then A. And in week 3, you reverse again, A, B, C. Each week until you've hit your pinnacle cap, just keep reversing the zigzag order, and eventually you'll get your power up there as fast as you can. This system works because you can transfer the weapons from one character to another. You move those higher level weapons to your second character and you're already at a higher power level thanks to the progress of your first character. But there's a lot of details on how the system actually works that we're going to cover right now. The first step is getting your character up to the soft cap that we mentioned earlier. You can do this just by playing the campaign, by running lost sectors, which are like mini dungeons you can find on the map with this symbol, playing public events that you find in the wild, playing in the Crucible playlist, exploring and killing named bosses, and pretty much anything else that you want to do in the game. For now, it's optimal to avoid doing anything that says it rewards powerful rewards, because those will be extremely valuable as you level and you should really save those until you hit the soft cap. Once you've reached that soft cap, it's now time to start running activities that reward those powerful drops. This means you're going to want to complete every activity that says it rewards powerful gear. The Season of the Risen's powerful cap is 1550. Every season after that is going to add 10 levels, so season 17 is going to be 1560 for the powerful cap. The activities that give you these rewards change over time as Bungie tweaks things, but if you look on Reddit or other websites, you can find a comprehensive list of every powerful and pinnacle drop that's available for the season. I'd also highly recommend that you join my community Discord, which often has helpful resources like this, and is a great place to meet some friends to play with along the way. The link to join is discord.gg/pattycakes. Once you've completed all of your activities that reward powerful drops and ultimately reach that powerful cap, the only way to raise your powerful level anymore is by completing activities that reward pinnacles. There's only a few pinnacle reward sources every week. This is why the zigzag method of swapping characters works so well to increase your power level. The Destiny engine is smart and it looks at all of the gear on your account to determine your highest power level. You don't need to be actively wearing your highest gear to earn the highest potential reward. Even if your gear is in your vault or on another character, you get credit for the highest power level gear that your character could possibly be wearing when you earn a drop in the game. This brings us to the point that many guides on leveling tend to leave out because it can be a bit overwhelming, but I have faith that you're smart and you can figure this bit out. It's not that tough, and it's really the big difference between leveling super fast or taking quite a while to hit the cap. What I'm talking about is being efficient with your target farming for particular equipment slots and knowing when you need to get a drop in a particular slot to reach that next gear score level. There's a website that you'll learn to love while playing Destiny called the Destiny Item Manager, or DIM for short. I actually made a whole video with a list of websites that you'll want to check out as a new Destiny player. It's linked in the description and also with the link on screen here. Among the many wonderful things you can do with DIM, it has a special tool that's particularly amazing for power leveling each season. When you log into your Bungie account and find the character that you're playing on, you can use your mouse to hover over your gear score and see a breakdown of each slot and how many levels it's above or below your total gear score. So for example, if you're at 1557 gear score and you have legs that are showing 1552, those are -5 power lower than your current base. There's 8 total slots where gear can be equipped and they're all weighted the same. So looking at this example, if you have a -1 on your gloves, -5 on your legs, and -2 on your class item, we can add these all up for a total of -8. If you're able to get each of those slots up to even by finding items in those slots, then your entire gear score will level up to an extra level of 1558. You want to be mindful of how close you are to that next gear score level. If you're only missing a few points, you may be able to find something to fill that gap and get to the next gear score level. Then your next reward is going to drop at a higher power level too. I can't stress just how important this is when you're trying to level efficiently. In Destiny, many players complain about bad RNG from getting gear in the wrong slots that doesn't help them level as fast as they'd like to. And I've certainly been there myself, but if you're mindful of the system, you can mitigate a lot of that bad RNG just by being diligent and waiting to earn another powerful or pinnacle reward until you've evened out all of your gear levels. I know this might sound a bit complicated, but once you get it down, you're going to save so much time compared to just leveling the normal way. Save this video and come back to the section whenever you're leveling, and you're going to become a Destiny power leveling master. If you're diligent with this routine, you'll beat the max power level really fast even if you have some bad luck. Okay, now that you know how to level, you're getting so close to some of the best gear in the game. You may have already gotten lucky and gotten some really amazing gear, but you don't even know it yet. Before you start deleting any of your new awesome gear, you need to know how to invest in your loot to make it even better. There's 4 main systems to know in Destiny: Infusion, Materials, Crafting, and Mods. Infusion is how you take the power level of any item that you receive and move it over to an item that you like even more that's in the same slot. For example, let's say that you really love this new energy hand cannon that you got while you're leveling. You've been using it for a while and there's something that makes it feel really special. The energy hand cannon you have is 1525, but then some new energy sidearm drops that you don't really like so much and it's 1540. Maybe you really hate using sidearms, but you want to raise up your power level, and that sidearm is higher than your favorite hand cannon. Well, what you can do is make your energy hand cannon 1540 by sacrificing the sidearm. It destroys the sidearm and costs some materials, but now your hand cannon is a higher power level. That process is called Infusion. Here's a pro tip, by the way: you can infuse identical items into each other for only the cost of Glimmer. This is going to save you some really valuable materials later. To infuse and do a lot of things in Destiny, you're going to need materials, and Destiny has a lot of materials to collect. Most of these are only necessary for very particular things, so try not to get too overwhelmed with them. Here's a quick list of the most common materials in Destiny and how to get them. Glimmer is Destiny's version of gold. It's the most basic currency, and you get it from turning in bounties, completing activities, killing enemies, and deleting items. Really, doing just about anything in Destiny is going to give you some Glimmer. You can hold up to 250,000 Glimmer at a time, so feel free to spend it whenever you need it, but do beware that some endgame things start to cost a lot of Glimmer, so keep an eye on how much you have before you accidentally spend it all. You can also get more Glimmer from the Tower Cryptarch in exchange for some materials. Next up are Legendary Shards. You get these mostly from dismantling legendary or exotic items. You can also earn Legendary Shards as rewards, and they can feel a little bit hard to accumulate as a brand new player. These things are really valuable, and there's a ton of great ways to spend them. For example, there's a special merchant called Zur who only shows up on the weekends. However, later into your Destiny journey, you're going to be probably swimming in them. For infusing weapons and armor, you're going to need upgrade modules. These can be purchased directly from the gunsmith or 8 of 1 in the tower. When you're first starting out, be sure to visit the gunsmith in the tower because he has bounties that are going to reward these modules to you. You can also get these from the Witch Queen campaign and from the season pass, but I would recommend spending these really sparingly while you're new. Another material that you'll need to be really conservative with at first are enhancement cores. Enhancement lets you level up your weapon or armor piece up to 10. On weapons, you can upgrade some random stat up to 10 more points. You also get a gold border around the weapons that you fully masterwork. To upgrade armor, you need enhancement cores, but you're also going to need 2 more materials called enhancement prisms and ascendant shards. Enhancement prisms can be purchased from the gunsmith, but they're really expensive. The main source for doing these things is doing top tier content like Nightfall or deals. There's also a few extra ways to earn these things, like using a special mod on your ghost that can occasionally reward them for getting a headshot kill in the Crucible. Ascendant shards are also mostly coming from Nightfall or deals or by buying them from the gunsmith. They're way too expensive for most new players to directly purchase though. You can also earn them from activities like going flawless in the Trials of Osiris playlist, but the chances of doing that as a new player are pretty slim. The season pass also has a few of these that you can claim by reaching the higher levels. Unless you have a really good reason, I would avoid spending either of these materials for now. Just save them up until you're really sure that you're ready to invest them into your armor. Exotic armor, for example, currently costs 3 of these rare ascendant shards to fully masterwork. The next 2 systems are where you're probably going to have the most fun when it comes to your gear. Both crafting and modding are direct ways to customize your loadout and make your character even more powerful in Destiny. Crafting is brand new to Destiny, being added during the Witch Queen expansion. Not all weapons can be crafted, but many can, and new ones are getting added each season. First thing you need for crafting is a weapon pattern. You get patterns mostly by collecting weapons that have a red border around them. These are called deep sight weapons. Once you've unlocked a pattern, you can craft your very own version of that weapon with some materials. You'll get neutral elements by leveling up these deep sight weapons. Just by using them in the game or having them equipped when you finish your activities, you're going to reach 100% XP and then you'll be able to extract the crafting materials from them. Crafting is a great new system that Bungie added to solve a major problem in the game, which is a lack of deterministic rewards. You craft a weapon and level it up by using it, and then as you level it up, you can reforge it with new perks that you unlock through using the weapon. Unlike the random drops you get from the rest of Destiny, there's no need to pray that you get the perfect roll. You can craft any roll that you want as long as you spend enough time with the weapon. You can even invest materials to get enhanced versions of the perks. The last thing that will make your character drastically more powerful is the modding system. In Destiny 2, there's both weapon mods and armor mods. Weapon mods are pretty simple. They just add a little bit of juice to the weapon, like improving your hipfire accuracy or the amount of damage your weapon does against different types of enemies. You're probably only going to really use a few of these weapon mods instead of using all of them. You get weapon mods by completing activities, or you can buy them directly by talking to the gunsmith or Ada in the tower. Both of these NPCs also sell armor mods. There are a lot of armor mods in Destiny. Every day you're going to want to check both NPCs to see which mods are selling. You're going to want to purchase whatever you can because you never know when it's going to be available again, and armor mods have some incredible effects in combat. Some mods tend to become even more useful in future seasons when new mods are added that have synergistic effects. Some mods simply buff the amount of damage you do, and others decrease the amount of damage you take. Some mods even cause some explosion! As you start collecting these mods, you should come back here to the channel and watch my build videos to see some incredible things you can do. Some of these builds are wildly powerful, so make sure you don't miss those videos and subscribe. Aside from the mods that you can permanently unlock from vendors and playing the game, there are also some mods that are available only for a limited amount of time through the seasonal artifact. Each season, Bungie prioritizes some weapons over others using these limited time mods. These are mods you can unlock just by earning XP on the seasonal artifact. Some of them aren't that great, while others are nearly game breaking, and some are essentially required to beat the harder content thanks to the enemy champion system. As you've probably noticed already in Destiny, there's a few different tiers of enemy difficulty. You have the red bar enemies who are easily beaten, yellow bars and mini bosses who are a little bit tankier, and there's also bosses who have a lot more health and often mechanics that need to be performed to damage them. But there's also a type of enemy called a champion. These have special mechanics that make them hard to defeat with normal weapons. There's barrier champions that have a shield you can't break with normal weapons, there's overload champions who rapidly regenerate their health, and there's unstoppable champions who are tanky and tend to rush you with a lot of outgoing damage. To beat their mechanics, you'll need to have weapons that have special effects designed to beat these special abilities. For example, the exotic Arbalest linear fusion rifle is able to break the barrier champion shields intrinsically. Each season, the seasonal artifact has special mods you can apply to your armor that upgrades particular weapons to be able to beat these champions. For example, during the season of the Risen, scout rifles, auto rifles, bows, hand cannons, SMGs, and pulse rifles all have mods that are able to beat these champions. Now we move into the final stretch called the endgame. At this stage, you're no longer a beginner or an intermediate player. This is where the die-hard fans live and probably spend more time than in their day jobs each week. It's time to get the best gear in Destiny. But how do you know what to farm for? Weapons roll with tons of different perks on them. For many of these perks, you can barely even feel them working, but others are very powerful and can help you cut through difficult content like a hot knife through butter. By the way, if you haven't seen it yet, I made a video ranking and explaining every weapon damage perk in Destiny. It's linked on the top right of your screen and also in the description. For weapons, most of your focus will be on obtaining purple legendary weapons and gold exotic weapons. Aside from a couple of exceptions, exotics are always the same aside from their power level and don't have random perks assigned to them. Instead, they'll have some really cool exotic perks that do some incredible things. Eventually, you're going to want to collect all these things, and if you delete or infuse one of them, you can always print another one from the Collections tab in the menus. Legendary weapons have an enormous pool of potential perks, and some of these can be incredibly powerful combinations that will help you succeed in PvP and PvE. For the most part, these are not reprintable, so if you delete a roll that you really like, you're going to have to find it again on a new drop. As various patches come through from Bungie and the mods in the seasonal artifact come and go, certain weapons are considered to be the most powerful for a period of time. A season ago, a special mod made fusion rifles and linear fusion rifles among the best weapons for pretty much all PvE content. Prior to that, grenade launchers were more powerful thanks to a special mod as well. There's always this rotating list of what's considered to be the most powerful. This is both on paper because of how much damage certain weapons deal, but also just because of community sentiment and how easy they are to use. The same also goes for PvP. Some weapons are just vastly more powerful than others thanks to various buffs over time. Fusion rifles, for example, used to be barely used at all in PvP a few seasons ago, and they've recently become quite popular during the Witch Queen era. Other weapons fall in popularity after getting nerfed, and it's just the cycle of life when it comes to Destiny. Some players just go after the current meta weapons and use those until the meta shifts again. Other players don't really care what the best weapons are, they just have their own personal tastes and they like to use whatever weapons satisfy those cravings. And then of course you have players who do a little bit of both. The best advice I can give you is to try out every new weapon you get for a couple of minutes and just see how you like it. If you like a weapon, pay attention to what perks it has and what they're doing together, and keep an eye out for those combinations in the future. At the same time though, keep tabs on what the Destiny community deems as the best current weapons in the game for both PvP and PvE. This will help you to more easily find groups to run raids and dungeons and other endgame content. If you just want to know what the best weapons and armor are at any given time, you'll find videos here on this channel covering that, and you can use those videos as a starting point until you find the gear that you really love using. And like I mentioned before, I'd also really recommend joining our community Discord server to chat with other players who can help you learn even faster. Just like weapons, armor also comes in a variety of rarity levels, and by the time you get into the leveling process, most of your attention is going to be on collecting the legendary and exotic armor pieces. Exotic armor can have incredible effects that totally change how you play the game. These often synergize with your subclass of choice to become really powerful. Legendary armor doesn't have these perks built in to consider, and most of your attention instead will go over to the stat points. This is both how many total stat points an item has as well as the distribution of those points. As a rule of thumb, anything totaling about 60 stat points or above is worth keeping if you're a new player. Once you have a decent collection going, anything that's 55 or less should probably be dismantled unless you really need it for infusing into other gear for its power level. Keep in mind that when you fully masterwork a piece of armor, it adds a +2 stat to each category, which does get a little bit confusing when you're judging how good the stats are compared to your current armor. But remember, in DIM, you can easily see the base stats before applying the masterwork stat bonuses. Each of these stats does something important, and it's up to you as a player to determine what is the most important for your build and your playstyle. Mobility will increase your strafing movement speed and the height of your single jump, and it also helps your dodge class ability come back faster on a hunter. Resilience gives you a little bit more hit points and also makes your barricade ability come back faster on a titan. It's also going to start mitigating incoming flinch starting in Season 17. Recovery controls how quickly your health begins to regenerate when you're damaged, and it also makes your rifts come back faster on a warlock. Discipline makes your grenades come back faster, Intellect makes your super regenerate faster, and Strength makes your melee abilities come back faster. There's no benefit to going over 100 in any single stat category, and DIM can help you to optimize your loadouts. You can use this to get the most total stat tiers for the armor that you have on your account in the loadout creator section. You can also get high stat armor from endgame activities like raids, the Iron Banner, Trials of Osiris, and different seasonal activities. Probably the best way to farm for exotic armor that you don't have yet is doing solo content. Each season, some of the lost sectors get a harder difficulty setting. Lost sectors, if you remember, are those tiny little mini dungeons you see around the map. When you complete a lost sector on legendary or master difficulty, you have a chance of getting an exotic armor piece to drop. These lost sectors rotate daily, and each day a different exotic type of armor will drop. One day these might be dropping exotic boots, and then the next day it's dropping exotic gloves. So if you're missing something specific you really want to try, keep an eye out for the daily lost sector and give it a try on the harder difficulty modes. I wanted to also make a section with a bunch of rapid fire tips that can really help you out on your journey. Some enemies have shields with an elemental type. If you use a kinetic or a non-matching elemental weapon, it can take a while to break these, but if you use a weapon with a matching elemental type, they'll break right away. So if you see a captain with a glowing blue shield around him, for example, try out an arc elemental weapon to take out his shield. In harder endgame content, this can be a game changer, especially when modifiers like match game are present. If you miss picking up an item that drops in the game world, that item will be automatically sent to the postmaster at the tower. He'll hold on to anything that you miss indefinitely, but be careful because he has limited storage space and he'll get rid of older things once you filled up the capacity. Also in the tower, you can find a vault where you can store extra items that you want to keep for later. This has 500 slots and it might seem like a lot for now, but I promise you, you'll have it all filled up soon if you keep playing. Right next to the vault in the tower, there's also a little kiosk where you can buy powerful items that you might have missed from older content. Some of these are really powerful and worth buying once you have enough time to grind for them. Public events are timed world events that occur in the game world around the map as you explore. You can see a public event is about to occur when you see this icon that also tells you how soon it's going to take place. Each of these events also has a condition where you can turn it into a heroic public event by performing a certain requirement. These heroic versions have a harder boss and will drop better loot and earn more XP. Your fellow blueberries will really appreciate it if you take the time to learn how to turn each of these into the heroic versions. Some mods award extra stat points when activating a secondary requirement. For example, most PvP players use a combination of Powerful Friends and Radiant Light to gain plus 20 mobility and plus 20 strength respectively. Keep an eye out for these secondary requirements on certain mods. There's also some really powerful systems you can interact with by using particular armor mods. Currently, we have some mods which can provide powerful effects for your character anytime you become charged with light. Other mods produce elemental wells which can do a lot of amazing things, and there's also mods that can interact with particular weapons to generate Warmind cells whenever you get a kill. These systems are a bit too complicated to cover in this video, but it's definitely worth keeping an eye out for these types of mods from the Gunsmith and 801 in the tower and watching some videos on how to put these builds together. You can also use the website destinysets.com to see which mods you might be missing. This guide took a ton of time to put together, and I want to give a shout out to our sponsor who makes projects like this possible. This video was brought to you by Manscaped, the global leader in men's grooming tools and hygiene solutions. With Father's Day around the corner, it's a great time to be shopping for presents for Dad. Sure, you could get him another gadget for the garage, but if we're being honest, he probably already has enough stuff taking up room out there. And neckties and coffee mugs aren't exactly the most exciting gifts either. What about getting him the best cordless trimmer on the market? The Lawnmower 4.0 is a waterproof and cordless trimmer that's perfect as a gift. It features advanced skin-safe technology, which is going to help you prevent those painful nicks in areas where you definitely don't want them. Since it's waterproof, you can also use it in the shower with no problem, and it also comes with a super bright LED light so you can see exactly what you're doing. Manscaped also just released their new Boxers 2.0, which are some of the most comfortable boxers ever made. They have 6 different color options so you can keep it professional or more on the fun side. They're made with super soft fabrics that are anti-chafing and moisture wicking, and they're also tagless so there's nothing to scratch you back there. Honestly, that's probably one of the worst parts of other boxers, so this one is a huge benefit. The Lawnmower 4.0 and the new Boxers 2.0 are the perfect gift combination for your dad, your brother, or really just for yourself. Go to manscaped.com and use promo code Pattycakes to get 20% off and free shipping. If you found this helpful, please consider subscribing to my channel, and up next, I'd recommend watching my video ranking every weapon damage perk in a tier list so you know which ones to hunt for in Destiny. It's the video on the top right of your screen and also linked in the description.